So, I got perfect grades in all 11 of my GCSEs, and although it was a lot of hard work, a lot of it was down to how much I studied. And what was in here? A big part to how I got the grades that I got were down to how you use this, how your study space in general was set up, and also this, your computer. Because if you think about it, as students, you're going to have spent thousands of hours by the time you go to your exams on this and sitting down at this very desk studying. So it makes sense to try and optimize this because these little things do add up and helped get the grades that I did. So in this video, I'm going to be going through quick and concise tips, apps, tricks, and deliberate things that I did to optimize my study space, my devices, my phone, and my computer that you can all implement today that will increase in some way the quality of your study sessions and hence increase your grades. You're going to want to copy as many of the things you can that is covered in this video. So without further ado, let's go. So starting with this here, your entire study space. Very, very underrated. You're going to be spending most of your time studying here, so it's really important to optimize it. You want your study space to be an area that you want to spend time in, right? And so some things that it needs to tick off it is that it needs to be comfortable, it needs to be clean and tidy, and we'll get onto why that is the case. When it comes to studying, you want to make it as frictionless as possible, right? So that's why if you look here, I've organized all the books and things that I might need at an arm's reach so that if I need to study or do a specific task, I can just sift through here and know that where everything is. Knowing where everything is and being organized is really underrated when it comes to studying because as James Clear said, when you have the clarity and you just know where everything is, you're far more likely to just sit down and get studied because the friction of starting studying, the friction of that is very, very low. So you're more likely to come back and make studying a habit and do it again and again. Actually keeping your study area tidy and neat actually apparently frees up brain space for you to be able to focus better. And just knowing where everything is going to prevent you from having to leave, stand up from a desk and go find something because everything, you know where everything is. That's the one key benefit of being organized. You want to keep distractions away. That means any mess or anything that can distract you shouldn't be near on your desk. And so that means that this, which I put here because we're going to be getting onto this bad boy later about how we can optimize it, should be nowhere near your desk when you study. So get the keep everything in the same space. Hydration, that's important. It's very important. That's why I have 2 water bottles, pens, and everything I might need is all just here and ready so that whenever I need to study, I've made it as easy as possible to do. And this is just the space that I do it in. Studies show that your brain actually associates places with activities. So for example, because I sit here to do my studying every time, by having that, my brain associates this space with study. So even if it's very minutely, whenever I sit down here, my brain gets ready to study because I've associated that activity with this place. That's also a sign of why you should never study in your bed because your brain's already associated your bed with sleeping and other things. And so actually your productivity is really low when you try and study or do other things in your bed. And that's just goes to show the importance of your study space. Just some more general things about my study space. I also keep post-it notes and things that I want to remember and revise. So this was all for my history, right? Where I wanted to remember these kind of things. I would keep them on post-it notes and put them on the wall so that again, I'm just really trying to optimize the space that I have to sit down and study. On to the most important one. This bad boy right here, your phone, is gonna make or break as a student the grades that you're gonna get. You already know how many hours this has wasted for you. This is the procrastinator machine, right? And so optimizing this is really, really important. You have to use your phone really, really carefully. So starting with stuff I've done on my phone is I've removed off of the main screen any distracting apps, right? It's just the apps that I need to use or use for my studies, etc. You see I've got my the flashcards app or just my notes, etc. And there's no distracting apps on TikTok or any social media on these main pages. Have your screen time as a big widget like this, because although this is also a link to my iPad, as you can see notes, and I use all of this half of the stuff for educational purposes and doing past papers, etc. It gives you a good idea of it can see how many hours was wasted on social media and games and stuff, as you can see on this side, which isn't ideal, but it just goes to show I have to show this, and it gives you a sense of guiltiness because you're going to see this every time you're on your homepage, how much time you've wasted. Notifications are a huge killer of your focus and attention when it comes to studying as students. You want do not disturb mode to always be on, but even more than that, you want to turn notifications off, especially for apps that you don't use. So go into notifications, and then you want to go through all of these apps and turn notifications off for all of these apps, especially the ones that ping you the most. As you can see, just notifications are just off. This is going to really increase your productivity, and it also makes it so they're going to use your phone less. A really good app that's free that you guys should download is this app called Screen Zen, and you can make groups for apps that you click on a lot and make it so that there's just this very small barrier of that your icon is actually grayed out, so you like it won't show up in your big area, but then when you do click on them, it's going to come up with this. You can use it, there's nothing stopping you, but you just have to wait 5 seconds to use the app. And this 5 seconds a lot of the time is enough for you to realize they don't need to use it. And this single app alone has probably saved me hundreds of hours of doom scrolling and procrastination. Download this app, set it up for all apps that you use a lot of, and then you can customize it within here. I'm not sponsored or anything, it's just a free app, but it really does help when it comes to reducing your screen time, because then it just makes so I just don't use these apps, right? It's a good wake up call. But this thing will actually decrease your screen time by a lot. And so if you go into settings right here, and you go into accessibility, and then you scroll down here, and then you go into display and text, and then you scroll here all the way down to this is your color filters. And if you set it onto grayscale and you keep this on, your phone looks like this. And you'll be surprised how much this reduces your screen time. So this is actually really effective in minimizing your screen time. You can actually bind it to triple click on the right side of your phone so that you can actually turn it on and off easily. But I actually like to keep this off, so my phone's actually in this gray state a lot of the time, and it reduces screen time a lot. But some rules that we're going to set around your phone is that you should firstly never have it on your desk or near you or anywhere that you can see or hear, which notifications should be off after following the steps, but you shouldn't have it anywhere near where you study. And this is because studies show time and time again, when you can see your phone, or just by having it on your desk, reduces your productivity and output by a lot. Create dedicated times to check your phone. You don't want it to be distracting and taking up your brain space by having to keep constantly having your focus on it. What I actually like doing is powering off my phone completely, because then that just makes that extra layer of friction and I can't check it altogether. I sometimes like hiding my phone or giving it to my parents, so that way I'm in no way whatsoever tempted to use my phone, and it actually really does help in staying productive and staying on task. And just before we get on to the next part, a quick announcement. People have been asking me for months to make a full guide on how to use past papers. This is the main kind of thing that I say that you guys should use, and I say it's the most effective, right? And so I listened and I finally made one, and it's going to be the deepest guide that I've ever made about past papers. And if you want to be the first to access it, check out the link in the pinned comment, which will tell you how you can be the first to access it. But anyway, back to the video. And last but not least is your desktop, your laptop, or your main area where you're going to be studying and using that's not your phone or any other device. And this is actually really important. The first thing that I've gone ahead and done is make sure there's no distracting apps or games on my home screen, which you can remove by going into right-clicking on this menu and then going into display. I'm removing showing these things on your desktop because as you can see, I used to have games and stuff on here, and it just make it far more likely for me to use these stuff. And so now that I've removed them, it's going to make it so that I'm more productive, and I'm just going to use it for studying, which is the main thing I want to use, right? Make sure there's no distracting things pinned, and just keep them far away and hidden. I've gone a step further, and I know myself well to know that the most key areas that I find myself distracted by are websites such as YouTube, ironically. And so what I've done is I've installed this free browser extension called Unhook YouTube, and it hides everything. So I'm using YouTube solely for the purposes I need. For example, I might need to search up a past paper walkthrough or a chemistry, for example, kind of explanation video, right? And that's fine, but I made sure that all I can do is search for the video instead of getting hooked by a Mr. Beast thumbnail that would be here and clicking on that and wasting loads of time, because I've wasted too many hours. The other thing I've done is I've completely muted all notifications, and even this bar here, I've only pinned things that are educational and things I'm going to use for school to really make sure that it's optimized. If I have a lot of tasks to do, what I actually like to do is I line up in order of the tabs the materials that I need to study for each specific subject beforehand. So for example, what this might look like is, don't know if you guys can see, but for example, if I wanted to revise biology, then followed by maths, then Latin, I literally open these tabs so that I have no way of going to other places. So I'll finish revising biology in this tab, then I'll close that tab, and it'll put me straight onto the next task, revising maths. And This all might seem excessive, but your brain is really susceptible to distractions, etc. So really setting yourself up for the most success, surrounding yourself and optimizing all of these things really do add up to make the difference to get the grades that I did. And I wouldn't be saying this if it didn't help, right? And so with that, I hope there's some things you can copy, take away, and implement into your own study space and your devices, because these things will add up and make the difference when it comes to getting the grades that you want. Stay locked in, good luck in your exams.